The right of khiyar in Islam refer to the option or right to continue or cancel a sale and purchase in a contract. It is a form of consumer protection in Islam aimed at creating transactions justice between the seller and the buyer. Khiyar is applicable in both offline and online transactions. Khiyar's rights serve to protect consumers from losses and ensure their interests are maintained in every transaction. The first type of khiyar is khiyar al-majlis. Khiyar al-majlis occurs when each one of the parties has the right to confirm or cancel the contract in the negotiation stage of the contract, as long as the two parties are still there and not left. For example, when a buyer says to the seller, "I bought this merchandise from you, one condition that I have the choice for 1 day or 3 days." The second type of khiyar is khiyar arshad. Khiyar arshad, which is both or one of the parties or another person has the choice of either confirming or cancelling the contract during a set of period of time. For example, sale, postponed payment, grant, and reconciliations where mutual commitment is involved. The third type of khiyar, which is khiyar al-ru'yah. Khiyar al-ru'yah is when a person who enters into a contract dealing with a certain object which he has not seen has the right of the cancelling or confirming the contract upon seeing the object. For example, A buy machinery from B without seeing. However, A has the options to return the machinery after the inspection. The last type of khiyar is khiyar al-aib, which is a right of a buyer on discovering after taking possession of the article of a defect in the purchase, which existed at the time of the sale. For example, A buys batteries from B, however, A has the options to return them to B if the batteries are found to be defective or not in working conditions. The rulings on the khiyar al-aib: if the defect of subject matter or good exists, the buyer can return the sold object and take back the price which he or she paid for it, or keep the object and take back the difference between price of the defective object and the price of a comparable sound object. However, the following conditions should be applied in these cases. The first one is the defect must be exist prior to the contract. The second, the defect must exist at the time when the purchaser wishes to cancel the contract. The third, the defect should have been kept secret, that is, the seller has not explained it to buyer, or it may be a kind which does not appear at the examination of the object except with an alterations in its nature. Fourth, the defect should be of the kind that renders the object useless to the buyer or that decreases its value. And the last one, the contract must not have been made subject to an agreement excluding guarantee. Consumer protection. Consumer protection can be defined as a safeguard the well-being and interests of consumer through education, mobilizations, and representation, that to ensure that customers make well-informed decisions about their choices and have access to effective redress mechanisms. It also pushes for the businesses to guarantee the quality of the product and services they offer.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti Nadamila binti Nasaruddin. My MITS number is 2023-388-293. I will explain about consumer contract in here. A consumer contract. Consumer contract is a legally binding agreement between a consumer and individual who purchase a good or service and business or service provider. This contract outlines the terms and conditions of the transaction, including rights and obligations of both parties. Key components typically include: first is offer and acceptance. Offer and acceptance is the contract start with one party making an offer and the other party accepting it. Second is consideration. Consideration is both parties must exchange something of value such as money for goods or services. Third is term and condition. Clear and specific details about the product or service, price, payment, terms, delivery, and any other relevant terms. Warranty. Warranty and guarantee. Statements regarding the quality, performance, or characteristic of the product or service and any guarantee provided. Dispute resolution. Methods for resolving conflicts such as arbitration or mediation if dispute arise between the parties. Six is cancellation and returns. Policy outlining the condition under which a consumer can cancel the contract or return the purchased goods or services. 7 is consumer right. A section detailing the right and protection afforded to the consumer under relevant consumer protection law. Privacy and data protection. If applicable, information on how the business will handle the consumer personal information. It's important for consumer to carefully read and understand the term before entering into any contract, and business should ensure that their contract comply with applicable consumer protection law. Here in consumer contract refer to the right of a party to withdraw from the contract under certain conditions. It's often associated with Khiyar al-Shad. In Islamic law, allowing a buyer or seller to cancel transaction within specific period or due to agreed open condition. This concept aims to provide flexibility and fairness to consumer agreement. For example, let's consider purchase agreement for a product. If the buyer and seller agree to include a Khiyar clause, it might state that the buyer has the right to cancel the contract within 10 days. If they discover any defect in the product that were not disclosed in the initial negotiation, this allows the buyer a window of time to inspect the product and decide whether to proceed with the purchase. In this scenario, the Khiyar provides form of a consumer protection by giving the buyer flexibility to exit the contract if unexpected issue arise. Promoting fairness and transparency in the transaction, is important to note that the specifics of Khiyar clauses can vary based on the legal system and the term agreed upon by the parties involved. The Khiyar al-Shad is designed to ensure transparency and consumer satisfaction, allowing the buyer flexibility to assess the product quality condition upon receipt. It is applicable only to material defect not reasonably apparent during inspection at the time of purchase. This clause empowers the consumer involved their right to cancel if they discover undisclosed defect within the agreed time frame, aligning with the principle of fairness and transparency in consumer transaction.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Izzatul Najihah binti Kasmuri. My metric number is 2023502165, and I will talk about the laws and regulations. What is consumer protection laws? Consumer protection laws are designed to ensure fair and transparent practices in commercial transactions and protect consumers from unfair business practices. There are some of the key principles of the consumer protection laws. First, information disclosure. Businesses are often required to provide clear and accurate information about products or services to consumers. Next, fair contract terms. Unfair contract terms may be prohibited and standard form contracts may be subjected to scrutiny. Next, product safety. Regulations may be in place to ensure that products meet certain safety standards. Lastly, unfair competition. Laws may prohibit deceptive or unfair trade practices. Firstly, Section 25 of Consumer Protection Act 1999. A person or consumer has the right to cancel a transaction that results from an unsolicited agreement. What is unsolicited agreement? Unsolicited agreement is a consumer agreement when a consumer signs a contract for the sale of goods and services without actively looking or asking for the deal. This section clarifies that a person may choose to withdraw from a transaction that they did not request when these things occurred. The seller is required to return any items they sent and refund the buyer's money. Thus, it is consistent with the notion of having a khiyar when making certain purchases. When this event happens, the seller must take back any goods that they have sent and give back the money to the buyer. Thus, it fits the idea of having a choice like khiyar when buying a certain things. Next, Section 10(1)(a) of Part 2 of the Consumer Protection Act 1999. No person shall make a false or misleading representation that the goods are of a particular kind, standard, quality, grade, quantity, composition, style, or model. This act can be related to Khiyar al-Ain that can be used in Malaysia, where it explains the right to cancel or continue a transaction if a good is defective or damaged, so the seller has the right to return the money of the buyer. It is therefore evident from the conduct that it would be inappropriate to make a false representation as to the quality of the goods for sale. When lies exist, the courts can step in and take action. Therefore, if a customer receives damaged or defective merchandise, they may choose to reject the merchandise. Next, the Contract Act 1950 Part 5. A proposal may be revoked at any time before the communication of its acceptance is complete as against the proposal but not afterwards. In the event that this is used the khiyar, it might be referred to as khiyar al-qabul and khiyar al-rujuk, which are the schools of Hanafi and Maliki that accept it. This term khiyar refers to the negotiations that take place between two parties prior to the contract being sealed. Hence, if the ijab and qabul have been completed, the transaction cannot be cancelled. Though ijab and qabul have been refined, the schools of Shafi'i and Hanbali have a different perspective since they recognize the existence of right in khiyar al-majlis. Next, there are relationship between consumer protection and khiyar. So what's the relationship? The relationship between consumer protection and khiyar is that the khiyar clause in Islamic contract law can be considered a form of consumer protection. Khiyar provides buyers and sellers with some options or rights to protect themselves from adverse events or to ensure a fair transaction. Next, as an illustration, there are many forms of khiyar such as khiyar al-aib, option of defect, and khiyar al-ru'ya, inspection of option, which gives the buyer the opportunity to inspect the product upon delivery and to withdraw from the transaction if defects are discovered. This supports the overall aim of consumer protection by empowering customers to make their own decisions and seek redress when problems arise. With that, any similar ideas may be incorporated into consumer protection regulations in contemporary legal systems to ensure openness, fairness, and the ability of consumers to make informed decisions, promoting fair transactions, balancing the interests of buyers and sellers, and providing channels for resolving issues that may arise during commercial transactions are what Khiyar and consumer protection have in common.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Yushwara Nabila binti Khairi. My metric number is 2023105177. Now, I will continue speak about the transaction issues in a supermarket or online shopping. Lack of transparency in the pricing is a significant transaction issues in supermarket and online shopping. Consumer often face challenging in understanding the actual price of product due to hidden fees, additional charges, or unclear pricing policy. This lack of transparency can lead to confusion and dissatisfaction among consumers as they may end up paying more than they initially expected. Similarly, in online shopping, the pricing information provided might not always be accurate or up to date, causing further complication during the transaction process.
In the next slide, I will continue explaining about the issues in the transaction of a supermarket and online shopping.
Now we move to the first issue, which is lack of transparency in the pricing. One of the key issues in transaction related to Khiyar and consumer protection in the supermarket and online shopping is the lack of transparency in the pricing. Consumers often face challenge in understanding the true cost of product due to hidden fees, misleading discount, and unclear pricing structure. Supermarket and online retailers may employ tactics such as a dynamic pricing, where price fluctuated based on demand, making it difficult for consumers to make informed decisions. Additionally, some retailers may not provide detailed breakdown of costs, making it hard to determine if any additional charges have been included. Lack of transparency in the pricing undermines consumer trust and hampers their ability to compare price and make fair transactions. It is crucial for supermarkets and online shopping platforms to adopt transparent pricing strategies and provide accurate and comprehensive information to empower consumers in their purchasing decisions. For the second issue is the quality control and product authenticity. Quality control and product authenticity are crucial aspects when it comes to transaction in supermarket and online shopping. Supermarkets need to ensure that the product they offer meet the required quality standard, both in terms of safety and overall quality. This includes conducting regular inspection, verify expired date, and properly handling perishable items. Online shopping platforms should also prioritize quality control measures by working with trusted suppliers, conducting through product checks, and providing accurate description and image. Ensuring product authenticity is essential to prevent the sale of counterfeit or fake goods, protection consumer from fraud and health hazard. Implementing strict quality control measures and verifying the authenticity of product not only enhance consumer trust but also contribute to a fair and safe transaction environment. And for the next issue, it is a return and refund policy. Return and refund policy play a crucial role in ensuring consumer protection in both supermarket and online shopping. This policy provides consumers with the option to return or exchange products that are faulty, damaged, or not as described. In a supermarket, most retailers have a clear return and refund policy that outline the conditions under which a refund or exchange can be requested. This policy typically requires the consumer to present proof of purchases and return the item in its original packaging within a specific time frame. Online shopping platforms also have a return and refund policy in place to address the unique challenge of purchasing items remotely. Consumers can often request returns or refund if the product is a defective, counterfeit, or doesn't meet their expectation. The policy may vary depending on the platform and the seller, but they usually provide a clear instruction on how to initiate the return process. Overall, return and refund policy help protect consumer rights and provide them with a recourse in case of unsatisfactory of transactions. And for the last issue, which is unfair contract terms. Unfair contract term in the context of transaction related to Khiyar and consumer protection in supermarket and online shopping refer to contract clauses that are considered to be disadvantageous or unfair toward consumer. This term may include provisions that limit the legal right of consumer, impose excessive penalty or fees, or shift an unreasonable burden of responsibility onto the consumer. Example of unfair contract term could be clauses that restrict the right to return or refund faulty product, impose hidden or ambiguous fee, or disclaim liability for the quality of or authenticity of the product. So, such unfair contract term undermine consumer right and can leave consumer in vulnerable position where they have a limited resource in case of dispute. Consumer protection regulation aim to identify and address this unfair contract term to ensure a fair and equitable transaction environment for consumer. That's all from us. Thank you.